What is going on, guys? This is McKay coming from the Dream Chasers podcast, guys. Today is the very first official episode that we're actually doing. We did the intro a little while back today, guys, but today we have a guest. He's one of my close friends. His name is Conder. He's going to be really the first guy that's kicking off the podcast as well as the YouTube channel. So if you guys are listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play, we're filming this as a YouTube video as well, so feel free to go check this out. But today, guys, as you saw in the title, we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can make, six figures in sales and how you can have a really good sales career. Riley, the first thing I wanted to talk about to him is about his achievements. Riley's been in car sales for 2 years, right?
You're in 4 or 5 months, roughly.
Yeah, so you're in 5 months, and Riley has had some really, really great success with sales. He has done amazing things. Me and him actually sold cars together before I left the car dealership, so I was involved with sales, and Riley just literally, he kicked my butt, and he really just took it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, Riley, is just, what are some of I'm pulling up my notes here. When did you start to really show interest in sales and entrepreneurship and everything like that? When was the big transition for you, and when did you flip into becoming a sales? Because we grew up together, and we were always kind of skater punks, and then you flipped, and then you dominated sales more than anybody that I've ever seen. So, what made you make that flip, and what caused you to do that?
Like you said, we were kind of punk kids growing up, man, and it's probably around the age of 15, I started really getting into, changing my life and just looking at the quality of life people around me are living, and wasn't too satisfied seeing how my parents and everybody lived. So I started just listening to a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger, because around that time I started going to the gym, and he has a really interesting outlook on life, on how you have to constantly be hungry and kind of just go for it in a sense. And his quality of life is amazing. Just his one accomplishment in bodybuilding alone is better than 90% of the people on the planet. Yeah. So for me, it was kind of how do I model my life after someone like him, act like he's a blueprint so I can achieve success in my life. So he's the original person who kind of shifted my mentality. And then I started reading books by Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, and a bunch of people like that who kind of ultimately shaped me to want to go for it and achieve success.
Yeah, so really the gym, because I remember when we started going to the gym was kind of the big shifting point.
Yeah,
I guess in your life of I need to actually start doing stuff.
Well, it was the first time in my life I actually had consistency in something, and I had to actually put my mind towards it.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I'd played sports and stuff, but I mean, they only teach you so much. It was the first time in my life I was only accountable for my own actions, and more than just going to the gym went into it. Eating and everything like that as well. So that kind of opened up my mind to having discipline and work ethic and kind of going from there. So
yeah, for sure. No, that's super cool. So biggest inspirations, I guess, would be Arnold Schwarzenegger, Grant Cardone. I know he's huge.
Yeah, well. I would say Arnold, Grant, and then recent years I really like people like The Rock and stuff like that, just because they're badasses. But
for sure. So yeah, I didn't really touch too much on Riley's achievements. Like I said, he was in sales. Really, the first month Riley was in sales at the car dealership he worked at. How long did it take you to become salesman of the month?
2 months.
It was 2 months. So guys, literally the very first month, 2 months, Riley's never been in sales ever.
No, first sales job.
First sales job was him selling cars. He still sells cars actually now to this day. And then within the first 2 months, he was a salesman of the month, and there was, multiple guys that have been in the car business for, 10 years, right?
Yep.
I mean, when I was started, there was, people that were veterans. So Riley, like I said, he's done amazing things with the sales career. I mean, within the past 2 years, you've been able to push over six figures, collectively, right? Not
sure.
per year, but
So officially graduated high school last year in May.
Yeah.
Started working at the car dealership in August. I ran a little landscaping business on the side, but wasn't making much money. It was just kind of something to float me through school while I was also working for a local city that I live in. But essentially, it started in August. By, would that be October, I became salesman of the month, and I managed to become salesman of the month for about 5 or 6 months in a row consistently. Yeah. And since then, I've only not placed in the top 3 1 or 2 months for the whole year. But yeah, essentially I made about $30,000 from August until December in the first year. And then this year I just broke 82 or 83,000. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely been a good opportunity, but there's always more, and I think the goal is just to stay hungry, and so
for sure.
looking for the next thing.
You've killed it. I mean, I've watched you do it, and it's been nuts. I mean, like we've been out of high school for like a year now. 2 years now?
It'll be 2 years in May. Yep. So I've been officially working in sales now for, like I said, a year and 5 months roughly.
Yeah, you're just able to literally dominate it, which is super cool. Like, especially your first sales job. Not going to college, right? Obviously I know that we're good friends. So
no, I'm
not going to college, but
no, I'm only 19, so I haven't had any.
You just kill it really at a super young age. So I mean, for all like the younger audiences that are out there watching it, like I don't really know what I'm going to go into after high school, or I don't know what I'm going to do. Definitely like sales is a super good thing, and we're going to ask a couple more questions about that. So we're going to jump into it. So like, one of the big things is I wanted to ask is like, why did you choose sales? Like, there's so many other options out there. There's so many other opportunities. Like, what made you go towards like sales, like car sales? Or just sales in general,
So I'll elaborate why I chose car sales specifically, but in general sales, because you have no other way in life basically to generate your income. But the thing a lot of people don't realize is whether you're a paid salesperson or a titled salesperson or not, you are still a salesperson in life. To get your way with other people in life, business, relationships, when it comes to as simple as convincing someone where you want to go eat, to winning an argument or landing yourself a job. Secondly, no other job lets you basically control your income. In a sense, essentially how I've been able to make good money for my age is that I'm not limited to a 12 to 15 an hour job, right? I do work a lot. I probably work a good, 70 hours a week, and which is, I'd say 50 to 70. Sometimes I take it a little easy on myself, which I shouldn't, but yeah, essentially, basically, sales in general is great because not only does it teach you how to make a lot of income, if you learn how to sell, you'll never be without money. But secondly, you'll always get your way in life and business, or at least you try. You'll have a better, advantage than most people.
Yeah, for sure.
I chose car sales because it's easy to get into. You don't need prior experience. Selling cars is not very hard, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of more product knowledge than anything, and it's a good introduction to sales. Granted, there are more difficult sales jobs out there, more rewarding ones as well, but for a 19-year-old kid with no college experience and just good work ethic, I've done really well with it. So
for sure, no, there's no doubt about that. But yeah, sales is, so that's interesting. Yeah, no, I mean it's totally true. Most salesmen, like if you've looked at salesmen that are good, they tend to have like pretty good control over their life.
Well, because there's pretenders in any situation. There's people who are car salesmen who make $30,000 a year, and there's other ones who make $280,000. Granted, it's my first year, but I'm trying to hit the upper echelons of the best I can be. But it's taken them 30 years to get there, and I don't have 30 years to wait around. So
for sure. So the second question I want to ask is like, who has influenced you in your sales career, and why? Like, why would you say? It could be one person. I think you touched on it a little bit just in the beginning, but like it could be one person, multiple people. But who would you say is like the numero uno?
So if I had to say, if I had to say one specific person, I think that in a sense I'm mentored by many different people, or at least I look up to many different people. Like if you guys could see the rest of my office, I have things hung up for Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that stuff. But
we're in Riley's office, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering where we're at, that's where we're at.
In my home office. So basically, Grant Cardone would be my number one person I'd say who's influenced my life the most in terms of like sales. I think that I can model my life after a lot of different successful people, but his bread and butter is sales, money, real estate, that kind of thing. But I think that he has the most well-rounded approach to making it learnable. His advice is not only how to sell that customer in front of you, but what to do with the money once you get it, how to control the relationship with the customer to get the most reward out of it. And in general, he just has a really good, mentality about how sales is related to all of your life, which means not only if you do good at sales, in a sense, you'll do good everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. No, Grant Cardone is super cool, guys. If you're like looking for anybody, I guess, that you're like getting into sales, or you're wanting to get into sales. I mean, I've read Grant Cardone's books. Me and Riley kind of study the same material. He's a super good resource. He has tons of books out there, tons of courses and stuff like that. So he's super good at sales, and he's kind of like I don't know, I would call him like...
I would say like the guru of sales.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's got the most like non-gimmicky, non-unethical or immoral. Like he's got a strict, straightforward approach. That doesn't mean you have to sacrifice that ethics or morals to essentially make money. It's very skill based and mentality based, which I really enjoy. So
yeah, no, for sure, I totally agree with that. So like now, kind of hinting on that same thing is like resources wise, like what have you? Oh, what did that just turn off? Hold on. I think that just did. Okay. I'll just cut it. I'll just edit it. Sorry guys, the camera just turned off, so I'm gonna jump right back into it. So like I was saying, is what like tools, books, or resources have helped you in the success in your sales, like in the success of your sales career? Have you read anything like, Grant Cardone obviously is a big resource, but has there been any other ones that you've been like, this is like what other people need to be looking at, or anything like that?
I think that Grant overall, like I said, has the most well-rounded material. I'd say any of his books, any of his audio programs and stuff, like for probably the first year of selling, and I still do it. I've just finished a lot of his material, but for the first, I'd say good 8 months or so, I listened to his, how to make I think it's the program's called How to Make $280,000 a year in car sales. But audiobooks, things of that nature is what I really enjoy. I like to read as well. So I'd say like his books, 10X Rule, Sell or Be Sold, Be Obsessed or Be Average. If you're not first, you're last. I don't think I'm missing any, but
those are
essentially, those are if you want a good mentality change, but then you also want to relate it to sales and how to make more money, that's great. Other than that, I have almost every one of Arnold's books, even up to his autobiography. I have his bodybuilding books like the Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. So even though it's not directly related to sales, anything that kind of gets your mind going and helps you see life in a different lens, I guess, is what I would recommend.
No, they're good books. I think I've read 10X Rule, Sell or Be Sold, and I don't think I've read The Closer's Guide to Survival, but...
I think they're all good either way.
Yeah, but so Grant Cardone, no, he's a good resource. Okay, now this is one that, like, I feel if you is a pretty mandatory thing to having success with your life, whether it's being in sales or just like day to day, is setting goals. So you obviously set goals. I know that because I've come over to your house and you showed me kind of what you do. So like, how do you go about setting goals? Because I think like a lot of people get lost in especially younger people, like they don't really know how to like set goals and like how do they go about achieving them and like following through. Like at this younger age, it's really easy to get distracted, via college or whatever it may be.
Well, I think at any age, it's difficult because, like, you essentially look at your life and you go, how can I, like, your goals are supposed to say, how can I get to this next level?
Yeah.
But for me, my hardest thing is looking at, like, people around me and trying to model my life after them.
Yeah.
But I'm dissatisfied with how they live. So for me, it's, like I explained earlier, I use like other people's lives as almost like a model or blueprint. I see their quality of life and I say, how can I directly take my current situation? Granted, I'm not that person. I'll never be that person, in blood, but like I can be just like them in their actions and their daily rituals.
You're not necessarily comparing yourself to that.
I am. I try to hold myself to the caliber of person they are, but I try to say my situation, like I'm a 19-year-old kid living in Utah who has certain circumstances that person does not have.
Yeah, for sure.
But how do I model their actions to get to that next step?
Okay.
So essentially, like goals, obviously if you learned about goals, you have to be specific and have, a time limit and all the basics. But I would say my main goals are like, how do I essentially look at my daily life, monthly life, and then in the year, and how do I model my daily actions to get to where I want to go?
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, like setting SMART goals.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like the basic goal setting program. But I've kind of lost the habit, which I need to get back into. But for a long time, I think what really helped me is every morning and every night I wrote down my goals. I have a little legal pad. I don't know where it's at, somewhere in here. I think I put it up. Either way, I'd write down, 10 goals that I have every day and every night. And they could be as simple as, I'm the most positive and driven person I know. So whether they're more of an affirmation or like an actual trackable goal, I would write them both down, a list of 10 or so. And then behind the camera, there's a little whiteboard thing I have up where I have some of my lifting goals in progress, and then money goals in progress. What I made last year comparative to what I want to make this year, and what I want to make, what's the most I've ever made in one day versus what I want to make in one day, in 1 month versus what I want to make in 1 month. So I think it's just trying to give yourself breadcrumbs what to follow, because you're never going to achieve every goal every single day, and there's certain goals that they might be important today, but doing them tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like your circumstances change, but I think it's just giving yourself something to like reach for, you know what I mean, to bring yourself up. But
I think that's super important, is to set like something that I do as well, like that I've started to do recently, is just set like small goals, like read 20 minutes a day, then maybe like, what was the other one? Write down my goals. Like I set a goal to write down my goals. Just like smaller things to keep holding yourself accountable, because like you said, you're not going to be able to just like, if your goal is to like make $1 million, right? You're not just going to wake up tomorrow.
Go ahead and make $1 million. And if you have
steps that are...
You have to become the person who achieves the things you want to achieve. Like you're not like... I have a quote somewhere in here that... So Max Dupree has a goal. I've hung this up in my office. It says, "We cannot become what we want by remaining what we are." So...
Let's see if I can get this in. It's like right
over there. So
I think my camera can focus on it.
I'll read it real quick. So we cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. So in a sense, you know what I mean? Like the person you are today isn't necessarily the person that you see yourself being down the road. So you have to set yourself up daily to become that person. And I struggle with that a lot. I think that I get too caught up in like, quote unquote working too much when really I don't. I think I could still handle more.
Yeah.
Or, just the daily distractions of even something stupid like playing video games. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
I think that you need to set yourself up daily with certain habits, because if you can't win daily, you'll never win monthly, yearly, or in the near or not so near future. So
for sure.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. Okay, what was the next one? I guess this one we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I just wanted to ask. This could be a pretty brief answer. Is there anything specific that has allowed you to have success with sales? So this would be like a rule or rules that you live by, or just anything like that. Like some people have like, when it comes to like working out, they were like, I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I get
anything that's specific that you would apply to like your sales career, like when you go into work, like, okay, like I live by this rule. Like, is there anything?
I don't know. I don't necessarily think I have quote unquote rules. I just try to I try to have a process and keep things consistent, for sure. I think if I could reword that question, I'd just say that consistency is most important.
Yeah.
Whether that be in your daily schedule, how you treat each customer, you know what I mean, like the things that you say, the things that you do, and the overall path you lead them down. So even in sales or not in sales, I don't necessarily have like a set of rules I follow. Like every day I have to do exactly this. More or less, I would just
a process that you're like
doing. So I would say somewhat of a process, but more or less it's just kind of
like a routine or something like that.
You're just setting yourself up for success. You know what I mean? Like if you want to wake up early, don't go to bed at 1 a.m. If you want to, if you want to, you know what I mean?
No, that makes sense.
Like even like I could relate it to my selling. Like with car sales, it's super important to kind of know going into it what your customers' expectations are, so that way you can give them, you basically solve their problem in the best way possible with the less resistance.
Yeah.
So like if I have a person that says I have bad credit and want to be $200 a month, I'm not going to show them an $80,000 Super Duty. Just like if in my life I want one result, I'm not going to do something entirely on the opposite spectrum that would not give me that result. So I would just say, logically breaking down how you can set yourself up to give, to get what you want. Overall.
For sure. No, that's totally makes sense. The next thing is how are you able to, I think that a lot of people struggle with this, is just how are you able to like push yourself, and how are you able to push yourself harder and harder every day, or just every whatever it is, and what advice could you give to somebody that's like looking to push themselves harder? Because like we've been friends for what, like I don't know
7 years, 8 years. Yep.
And like over these past, I guess I would say like couple 2-3 years ever since out of high school, like I've watched you push yourself harder than like anybody I know. So I was like, well, what is it that makes you do that, and what advice could you give to somebody that's like looking to do that? I mean, is there anything?
I don't know. I guess my biggest thing is just stay hungry. Like, constantly remind yourself that you're like. So I I don't know. I have a problem with being pretty hard on myself, which, like, I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. I can be, so hard on myself that rather than helping myself progress, I actually take myself down a notch because I'll mentally, like, destroy myself because of how hard I am myself.
Yeah.
So a good way to put it, I listened to another guy named Ed Milet, and he has a really good quote. It's being blissfully dissatisfied, where you're grateful for where you're at, you recognize how far you've come, but you'll never be satisfied enough to stay there. So in a sense, I need to look at my life and go, hey, like, you kind of screwed that up, or like, I'm not happy with my daily actions and my course and my path that I'm currently going on, but I'm a lot further than I was at X time and place.
Yeah,
so therefore I need to use that as a driving factor of how do I get to where I want to go. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think that to push yourself, you just need to remind yourself of why you're doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, like when people say you have to have a why, like there's so many things that I want to accomplish that I can't pinpoint it to one direct reason why I do what I do. But essentially it's just wanting to have the most I can get out of life. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just going for it.
Yeah, just constantly realizing that if you put in the hard work, you can get to where, like, you're wanting to be, or you get to where, I guess, like,
where I see myself. Like down the road.
And like, it definitely, like, the whole, like what you said earlier is like modeling your life after somebody is like, a big thing that I find helpful to me is like finding people, like on Instagram, meaning not like the fakes, because like you said, there's a lot of fake people out there.
There's a lot of pretenders. You don't really know somebody.
But finding those people that are legitimate and just trying to study what they do and having that push you, like, hey, this guy's got it, like, I want it, And like that staying hungry factor, definitely agree with
Well, I think that, like, mentally, once you see someone else doing it, you realize that it's possible, and if someone else can do it, why couldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you start, like, watching this person and they kind of grow up the same as you in a way, like they kind of have similar situations. Yeah,
I agree. You can relate a lot of your experiences or past experiences to
them. They might be older than you, but like, you can definitely. I think that finding that is huge. Like Riley says, is not as like comparing or just like looking at other people's lives and using that to push yourself.
Right.
Like, hey, I got that. I can do that.
Yeah, I agree.
That's super good. So now, what is your favorite book and why? What was the number one?
No, that's a really hard question.
It could be multiples. It could be like 2 or 3. But like, what is your favorite book or favorite books, and why are they your favorite books?
Oh, that's a tough question. I got my books behind me. Let's see how they're over there now.
You got like,
oh man,
some Grant Cardone books.
Let me look real quick because I've got a couple that I really enjoyed. I would probably say, because I don't know, I model my favorite books based on what the application is, right? So I would say for the biggest mentality shift that I've ever had, Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone would probably be one of my top favorites. Just because it's I mean, the name itself says that you have to be obsessed with your end goal or else you're going to be average, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd say that, or some of Arnold's books I really enjoyed. Like if you read Total Recall by Arnold Schwarzenegger, it gives you a really detailed perspective on how his life turned out from when he was growing up as a little poor kid. And
I don't know why this keeps turning off.
No, it's all right, man. So I'll relate that question just because the camera's having some issues. But essentially, I take whatever book that I'm reading and I say, like, is this a top favorite based on the application, right? So like, my favorite gym book is not going to be my favorite book of all time because it's only one application, right? But a couple books that I've really enjoyed are like, The 10X Rule or Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. I really enjoy Arnold Schwarzenegger's books because he also has a really good mentality and outlook on life of being hungry and going for it all, because in a sense he really did. He had so many accomplishments that most people would never even dream or get close to. And every single thing he did, he was damn near the best at, if not the best, undeniably. But yeah, I think that if you're into lifting, a really great book that will give you solid advice, not only for like fitness, but just in general, seeing someone come up and be successful would be The Education of a Bodybuilder by Arnold Schwarzenegger. If it's, you're just wanting to not have an average mindset anymore, I think Be Obsessed or Be Average or the 10X Rule is great.
Yeah.
And
10X Rule is really good.
Yeah, or like, like I said, I read a Robert Kiyosaki book earlier in this interview. So, he has some pretty good books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad that I think are a good beginner book to get your mind going about what's possible. But I think that other people handle that information better. than he does. That's a good introduction, but I think if you're going to elaborate on that more, you need to get involved with someone like Grant or Arnold or something like that. So
yeah, no, for sure. All right, and then now, what are your 2019 goals? So it is January, what, like the 6th or something?
Yeah, 5th or 6th, I believe.
6th. So, New Year's was not too long ago. Do you have anything like in store? What are your plans? I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff. I know we're always together, but like, what would you say? Kind of some of your biggest goals are this year that you've set. Like, what are you thinking this year, man?
I'd like to break $200,000 for the first time in income.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is that I'm going to make 100 either way, which would be a goal of mine. Break 6 figures, but if I go for 200, I'm going to end up with 100 anyways. But I don't think it's totally possible.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm considering getting into real estate or a different application of sales, just because with car sales, it would take me, a pretty considerable amount of time to get to $200,000 a year as a salesperson, and then I'd have to get promoted to finance or management to get anywhere near there.
Should continue to build on that,
right? And my age, in a sense, they have some nepotism where I wouldn't say not in the family sense, but they don't really hire from within because the people they have are already good in a sense. So, I'd say get into another opportunity that allows me to make more, work more, and in general just reward myself more greatly.
Yeah, for sure.
Another goal I would have is, probably with lifting, just to become as big and strong as I possibly can. I know in recent years I've had issues with consistency with eating, which has held me back. Like I've, peaked out and been like 180, 185 pounds, and then got my wisdom teeth out or something stupid, went down to 160.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, Riley's a huge weightlifter, so he goes to the gym.
Let's rephrase that. I wouldn't say huge in the sense of being big, but
you go to the gym every single day.
Yeah, 5-6 days a week, and I really enjoy it.
And he's been doing this for
now it's been 2.5 years.
2.5 years, like every single day. So
yeah, since I started right around the time I first turned 16. So
yeah,
I would actually say about 3 years now. It's been a while.
Yeah,
but
that's helped you.
It's a good anchor in a sense.
It's an anchor.
Yeah,
right?
because
it helps you stick to certain things, and
it's good because it's the least expensive therapy and way to better yourself. It's not hard. You just show up and lift weights and shut up, and as long as you have a good process and program with that. See, my problem with that is, and a lot of my life is having discipline on both sides of the coin. I have no issue going to the gym. They just shut off again.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what's going on. Just keep talking.
Okay, you're fine. So one of the issues that I've had is, with lifting is going from, being able to hit the gym every single day with no issue, but finding the time to eat the food, the quality of food, and the amount of food that I need to gain weight, build muscle, and get stronger. So, throughout my course of lifting so far, I've, peaked out, like I said, multiple different times to where I've got up to the heaviest I've ever been really strong, and then I, that month I have a really good month in car sales, and then I let lifting go to waste. So then I have to essentially bring up both sides of the coin constantly. But otherwise, I've really enjoyed lifting. I think it's been a good way to better myself and keep myself positive when things maybe aren't going great in other areas. Yeah,
for sure. Well, cool. And I think there's 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, we're on question 7 or 8 now.
Yeah, we're on 8. So we have 2 more, and then we'll wrap it all up. The camera I don't know what happened with the camera, guys. So if you're watching this on YouTube, we do apologize. We're having some malfunction with the camera beforehand. So I will do some editing there to make it somewhat interesting to hang in for the next couple of questions. But so the next one is where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you see yourself doing in 5 years? I know you're talking about getting into real estate. You've kind of me and you have talked about, real estate is definitely an end goal of both of ours, to have rental properties and stuff like that.
Yeah, so 5 years I'll be 25. I turn 20 in April, and a goal I've had since I was 15 is to be a millionaire by 25. So
to make your first million.
We'll have a net worth. I'll have made $1 million in income, and that's the crazy part is a lot of people don't realize that everybody, even if you work a minimum wage job, if you work 60, 70 years, you're going to make $1 million in your lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't mean I want to make $1 million. I want to have assets or money put away in excess, or real estate, right? Equity in real estate that's worth $1 million, and have a yearly income of at least a deep 6-figure income, if not 7 figures.
Okay. So just really an accumulative amount,
right?
$1 million in assets.
And that's why I'm in such a hurry. Some people are you should stick with car sales because you seem to be doing good. Well, I don't want to do good. I want to do amazing. I want to do great. And
yeah, I mean, like even if, and you know, with car sales, I think we had this conversation the other day. Is like, you know, the top salesman.
the top salesman in my entire
Yeah.
dealership group
Yeah.
makes probably 250 to 280, and he's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah.
If in 30 years I'm only making 250 or 280, I give you all permission to murder me, because I need to be doing a significant. I need to be doing that this year and every year after,
for sure.
at least.
So yeah, definitely. Okay, so having, you know, $1 million in assets and everything like that, definitely deep six-figure income,
Right.
And pretty well invested in real estate then.
Yep.
Rental properties, right?
Yeah, I'd like to get into multifamily real estate. My mentor Grant Cardone owns probably 6,000 units, and he makes tons of money. He makes so much money that he was able to buy a Rolls-Royce Cullinan and a Rolls-Royce, I believe it's a Ghost, just with his passive income.
Yeah.
So
no,
that's
crazy.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah, real estate is definitely right. So the last question, there's two of them, but I think they kind of form into one kind of like mega question, just to kind of wrap it up. What is the best piece of advice you've gotten? This can be from a book, it's just really anything in your life. And what is the best piece of advice you could give to someone? So it's kind of a
double-edged sword. So
yep.
I don't necessarily have a one piece of advice I've gotten that's great. So I can read a quote. I really like quotes because they help, explain a situation. So I have a quote behind me by Arnold Schwarzenegger, my idol, and it says, "For me, the meaning of life is not simply to exist, to survive, to exist or to survive, but to move ahead, to go up, to conquer, to achieve, or to achieve, to conquer." Yeah. So essentially what that means is that life isn't meant to be lived average and dumbed down and fun, quote unquote. Yeah. I think the meaning of life for me is putting my head down and going to work and achieving things that no one in my space or in my life has ever done, right?
Right.
So stay hungry is what I would say. If I had one piece of advice for anybody, it's stay hungry and find consistency. Try to do things that make you uncomfortable. Like for me this last week, just to get back in the groove of just kind of, my favorite psychological torture of making myself do things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I've been just it's the middle of winter in Utah. It's freezing, probably, 25 degrees
like
outside.
12 degrees every single morning.
It's crazy cold. But for the last week, I've been taking ice cold showers. And I just get in and just go, right? But it sucks and I hate it, and I always have to pep, like the other day is a total joke, but I'm dead serious. I did this. I listened to the Rocky theme song before I got in just to pump myself up because it sucks so bad. But that's the thing is stay hungry, always achieve more. Don't let people tell you that what you have is enough. Never convince yourself what you have is enough, because it truly is not. I'm not saying live with a scarcity mindset, but be so hungry that you realize there's so much abundance that no matter what you get, there's more.
Yeah. I think, and then it was go back onto that Ed Milet quote that you said earlier. It was
blissfully dissatisfied, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like be grateful for what you have and always think there's more in a positive way. Don't don't beat yourself up, or don't think I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I wish.
Turn it into a good paradigm shift so you have a good mentality. But yeah, my biggest piece of advice is to make yourself uncomfortable in the sense of you have constant discipline and consistency, or at least as much as you can in crazy life that we all live. And stay hungry. Always go for more, no matter where you're at. And don't let people in your life. The thing is, the people in your life that love you the most will be the ones that are your biggest doubters and biggest naysayers.
For sure. I think that, there's obviously going to be probably a good amount of people that watch Gary Vee and stuff like that. But he always says that, the people like your mom telling her to F off, it was probably going to be like the best thing you could do in your life.
Which you obviously don't want to tell your mom to.
Obviously you love your mom, right? But he has a good point of saying that your brothers or your sisters or your mom or your dad are probably going to be the ones that are telling you what you're doing is not right or is stupid or is, and getting out of your comfort zone isn't a good idea.
So that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't necessarily say tell your family to get bent, you know what I mean? and go away. But you do need to realize that you live your life for you, and even if that means being selfish. Grant Cardone has a great saying: "Pay the price today, and you'll pay any price tomorrow." Yeah. Even if that price today is not seeing your family for months at a time, working 80 hours a week, and feeling like you're just beat to death. If that's what it takes, go for it, and don't give up.
Sure. I think those were great questions, guys. So this is kind of wrapping up the end of the podcast, guys. We appreciate you watching. If you're watching on YouTube, we apologize for the camera shortage and stuff like that. We're having some technical difficulties. If you guys are watching on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play, make sure to hit subscribe to the channel, guys. This is going to be the first one of many episodes to come. Guys, again, we had Riley Conder here. The young man, 19 years old, has achieved well over six-figure income. fresh out of high school, no college or anything like that, has really just been killing it in sales. So make sure to subscribe. You're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, drop a like, and we really appreciate you guys for tuning in. And stay tuned for the next episode here to come very shortly.